If your income depends on your constant presence, like being there all the time, you don't actually have a business.
Welcome to the show. Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power.
Welcome to Your Ultimate Life. You know, this podcast is dedicated to help you create a life of freedom, purpose, prosperity, and joy. And I usually say purpose, prosperity, and joy. I added freedom this time because I'm thinking about how business works. Like, I had a friend who owned, and I knew him for several years. He owned a pool cleaning service. And he not only cleaned people's swimming pools. This is when I lived in Phoenix, and so there's zillions of swimming pools. Houses practically come standard there with him, at least in some neighborhoods. But anyway, he cleaned pools. He did a great job. He had a good business, and he also had a store where people could buy pool cleaning, supplies and chemicals for their filters and their pumps and all that sort of thing, and then also the nets and all the rest. And here's what I noticed. It was difficult for him to take time away. It was difficult for him to be disconnected at all. And so he was doing better than most because he'd had the business for a long time. He had several employees and was able to take some time away, but the business still required his presence. Not so much out actually doing the pool cleaning, but running the business from day to day, meaning he had to manage the store, manage the inventory, check the employees, make sure the appointments were kept, et cetera, et cetera. And so it still required his presence mostly, even though he wasn't out cleaning pools most of the time. He was getting older up in life and had the business for a while, and he was too old for that. So, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with having that life. But you have to understand, and this is one of the Thursday coaching episodes. So I'm talking to coaches, you. If you're a coach, advisor, that sort of thing, this is for you right here, right now. But I used a non-coaching example because it's easy to see. If your business requires that you're there all the time or nearly all the time, meaning if you're gone, it falls apart, you don't have a business, you have a job. You may have a job of your own building or choosing, but you still have a job. Okay, and that's not an indictment. You're free to build and live a business like that. And if you build it and get some employees and get a good cash flow moving and so forth, then you can take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month off and have people, if you set it up well and you're careful and you get organized and you take your phone and you're available for emergencies, wow. That's still being heavily involved in it. So I'd like to explore the idea in coaching about how to do that, how to create, because coaches, me too, we're time for money. We sell coaching sessions, okay? And there's nothing wrong with sessions, and this isn't anti-session or anti-coaching or anything else. But I want you to explore what it would take and what it does take, because I live that way, to create a business where it runs by itself for some, maybe not completely where you can step away and be an absentee owner, but it does it well enough that you can, in a carefree way, take time to yourself and do other things. Perhaps start or run or build another business. Perhaps take time for yourself or your spouse, your loved one, or your kids, or a hobby, or other things you want to do. Most coaches never get there. And by most, I mean 95%. 19 coaches out of 20 never get to the place where their business is not dependent on their constant presence. And I want to talk about how to create that, especially in the context of AI, because AI is improving so fast and doing so well in terms of accomplishing things for people that used to pass for coaching that we as coaches have got to take a hard look at what we're doing, or we're going to be out of business. Now, I wrote Coaching and the Rise of AI a few months ago. I started it last year, so it's a year ago now. It was written May through September of last year, 25, and published in November. And now it's May again, so it's published 6 months ago. But in that book, I predicted that by this Christmas of 26, 95% of coaches would be out of business. And that's just because we're not providing things that either are unique, powerful, that cannot be done by AI, and at the same time, we're not building a business. We're still just scrambling to get a job. And what that looks like, and you already know this, right? You're trying to find prospects, you're posting or you're networking or you're doing some activity to find prospects, you're having conversations, you're inviting them into relationship, or they're asking to be in relationship with you as a coach, depending on how you approach it. And them asking is possible and way better because it means usually they're more committed. But anyway, it still takes a good bit of your time to do that. And that isn't even counting the delivery of coaching. And the delivery of coaching is just one piece. When you get heavily involved, like if you're coaching someone for 3 months or a year or 2 years, or, I've got some clients that I've had for 12 years or longer. If you have that kind of relationship, they also occupy space in your mind. That's not bad. In fact, it's part of being a coach. But it also reduces the number of real clients you can have, reduces your income, and more importantly, reduces your impact. Now, you may be in your mind thinking, you know what, if I can have just a few dozen or a few hundred people that I have dramatically impacted, I'm satisfied. And you're free to have that goal and be satisfied with it and fully fulfilled. Most coaches have come from a place of having had some kind of life experience that makes them want to change the world. I'm like that. I want to reach 300 million people. I am. How? Well, various methods. The how isn't the subject of this show, so I'm not going to do that or it'll take too long. But the message is WIPOS, W-I-P-O-S. I want to talk about your worth, your identity, your possibility, your ownership, and sovereignty. Because when you have mastery of those 5 things, you literally can use quantum physics and all that whoopee woo-woo stuff to create the life you want. I do it. I live it. I love it. Now, let's go back to being present all the time. And I mean physically present, like you've got to be there. If your income depends on your constant presence, you don't have a business, you have a calendar. And you define your success often by how full your calendar is. A calendar is not a business model. And AI, here's the thing, it's going to expose how fragile that is. Now, remember, I'm not anti-coaching session or anti-prospecting or anti-service or anything else. I'm all in fully to that. But I am anti-confusion and anti-fragility and anti-calling a full calendar a scalable company. A packed week is not evidence of success. It is proof that you built something that can't really survive without you. So here's some questions. What happens, like literally in your business right now when you get sick? I had that reality slap me in the face in 2018, some 8 years ago. I got sick, seriously. Was in the hospital in a coma for 17 days, in the hospital for, 5 weeks or something. And a lot happened to the business, and it caused me to have to do a reframe. What happens to your business if you disappear for 30 days? What exactly are you building besides exhaustion? Many, not all, but many coaches that I talk to, or advisors or consultants, they speak about, I got to next, that constant churn and feeling of got to find more clients, and I don't know how, and it's hard, and I hate doing this, and I hate selling, and all the rest of that language. What if that wasn't necessary? So let's start with a premise here. Time-based coaching is weak. Okay, and here's why. The old model, and this is also influenced and impacted by AI, and I want to integrate that because this Thursday episode, now this is a Thursday episode, the Thursday episodes were originally designed, I started them last September, so not quite a year ago, 8-9 months ago now. I started them for a particular reason. I wrote that book, Coaching and the Rise of AI. I looked what AI was doing and had been doing already and where the trajectory was going, and knew that you and me, we got to offer something completely different, way more powerful, or AI is going to put us out of business. And it already has completely changed the world of info products and coaching to some extent. Now, I know some very successful coaches that are building AI bots to help with their work. And you can use that to help, and I think it's a great idea. The old model is that we sold access. We sold calls. Maybe we sold engagements for 6 months or a year. I know people that sold lifetime engagements. Great. We sold sessions. We sold support. We sold accountability. We didn't necessarily call it all that, but that's what was going on. Now, there's nothing wrong with support. It's important and it's needed. But what it looks like is changing. Okay, with the advent of email, with the advent of Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and Signal and, those text messaging, support looks way different than it used to a few years ago. Reality is this now, today in 2026, any client or prospect for that matter can have a thought partner instantly. Now, I want you to think about that. A thought partner is instantly available with any of the AI models. Now, if you have cultivated a deep relationship, and I use that word advisedly because I realize they're not alive and they don't have feelings like we do, and I happen to use ChatGPT, but whatever. My model reminds me of that constantly when we're talking about feelings. But they can be a thought partner, and that's incredible. Now, my particular one, I've got millions, 6-7 million words, maybe more, ingested and responded to. So millions and millions of words have gone back and forth, not just in trivial things, but really deep things. I'd rarely use it to write emails or any of that kind of stuff anymore. I did to start with. I go after it for deep thinking and organizing. I recently had a topic that I wanted to learn more about, and it was in the context of coaching. And so I gave it this topic, and I said, here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm also hearing, pros and cons about this particular topic. I want you to do a deep dive. And I put it in the deep think mode and said, do some real research. And it thought for quite some time and came back and gave me a very comprehensive set of things. And I said, all right, if I want to learn more about this, give me a lesson plan. And so it did. And again, it thought for a long time and searched however many sites, and it lists them, you can see them flashing by. And then it gave me a very thoughtful lesson plan. And then I said, all right, let's build these lessons. And it built the lessons, and it ended up with over 100 pages of lesson material, which I have already consumed the first time, and I'm on my way through it again the second time. And then when I had this entire curriculum, I put the whole curriculum back in and said, all right, what did we miss? And it looked at its own work and the feedback we'd already iterated and gave me some more and made it even more thoughtful, powerful, coherent, and connected. That's available for $20 a month. So anything I want to provide to clients that is based on information that's available, based on frameworks or tools, or even a fairly comprehensive lesson plan to learn about a topic, and it can be any topic at whatever level you want. The 101 classes in college or the 501s for master's degree and so forth. All of that's available in the context of Thinking Partner, and that's available to anybody for $20 a month or whatever price the model is that you're using or they could use. And it's available immediately. So anything that we sell that's any of that is practically free. These models can provide frameworks instantly and journaling prompts instantly, powerful questions, instant check-ins, accountability, structured reflection. All that stuff is like instantly available. And it's really good and getting better and better and better. And so one of the things I do with clients is I teach them how to engage with these amazing pieces of technology. We talk about what they're useful for, what they're not, what the limitations are, what the powerhouse, right in the wheelhouse are. We talk about that, and I help them. I help them learn to use it effectively. And there's two reasons for that. One, I want to be the most valuable resource I can. And two, because my goal as a coach to get you to the podium, whatever your podium is, the Olympics or a best-selling book, like we just finished a book challenge. Fantastic book challenge. And we've got people that are going on with us, going to write, publish books, etc. So it's so exciting, and helping people use all the tools that exist is a boon, a blessing, a good thing for you to do for them. And here's why. One, it shows that you understand the technology and tools. Two, it shows that you really have their best interest and rapid learning at heart. Three, it keeps you focused and clear so that the time you have together is the most powerful, or put to the most powerful use you can. So I want you to think about that. And four, it draws the complete distinction between what AI does and does really well and what you do as another human. Now, if you've interacted with AI a lot, especially at a deeper level, you know what it feels like. You know when it says powerful things back to you that even make you emotional. You might have tears or, fire in the belly or emotion connected with that and feel like you're having an experience, and you are. And I have, and I've challenged it and talked to the chat about that. Here's how I'm feeling. Here's what's happening. I'm experiencing emotion and tears and whatever. And then we'll talk about what's actually going on and the difference between a human connection and artificial, or this technology connection. So thoroughly exploring it yourself and helping your clients is a blessing to them. Not saying you have to, but I choose to, and I find it really valuable for me and clients. So here's another thought. The fourth big reason is it emphasizes the difference between the truth of human connection. So right now, I say to you, it emphasizes the difference between the technology and the human connection. Now, the way that I said that created emphasis, power, energy, emotional context around the word difference and around the word human. And the energy and intensity that I transmit to you here now as I talk about this. AI can't do that. It's just line after line after line of words. And words are powerful, make no mistake. But they always will lack that spacing and power. And I know that it can speak also, and I've used it in that mode. I actually find that far less satisfying than just the words, because the speech is so awful. And it sounds good and everything else, but it doesn't have the truth of human connection. All right. So now you understand the complete difference between the two. And if you're not using that as a coach, you're going to be one of the ones out of business. Okay? What we have to offer is that truth of human connection. And you already know that. But my question is, are you showing it? Are you being it? Does your client have that experience of deeply being seen? And are they able to take that experience, turn it into immediate action, and create cash 5 times as much as they paid you? If you can't provide a 5-to-1 return on what you're charging your clients, you're not worth your salt. And I don't care if it's a healing modality or motivation or understanding true identity or my even framework, worth, identity, possibility, ownership, sovereignty. If I can't help them take those eternal truths and transform how they're being in life in order to create more cash, if they want to. Now, some come and they don't want any more money and they've already got all they want. But most people are wanting to grow business and so forth. And so if we can't show them how to do that, we got nothing to offer. Even if they feel more empowered as they leave, that empowerment has to turn into something. All right, we started with the idea of being able to move away from your business and have it be a business, not a job. Okay? So people will pay you as a coach to buy access, but with AI, they're going to question prices harder, right? They're going to stay less dependent on you, and that's actually a good thing. They're going to compare your work with others more aggressively, and they're going to tolerate zero fluff, and they should. If all you sell is your availability, you're in a race to the bottom, a race to be cheaper. If your business is built on appointments, the ceiling's already built in because, there's only so much time in the calendar, and then there's the whole question of being able to move away. So the market is moving from access, to assets. And this is where I get what we want to get to, the business part. It's moving from access to assets. We were in a time where buying access was all important. I get to be with, talk to so-and-so. And I'm not saying it's not important, but the balance is completely shifted. And the reason is because access to AI that's steadily getting better, that is good in so many areas. Now, not the human connection, I get that. But there's so many other parts to this that it's better than you and me, that access is no longer the only thing. So assets is as a piece of this, a really important piece. And this goes to your ability to be gone. So what assets do you have? What assets are you building that are going to outlive you? Okay, that's really important, because coaches might think, or used to think, or might still think they're strong because they got paying clients, they're fully booked, they're busy, they're always on calls, they have wait lists. None of that means anything if you're trying to build a life, not just a full calendar. You might think you're important or in demand because people need you. That's true, but I want you to think about this, and I'm challenging you to think about it from a different way. Busy is not a strength, and we live in a culture that makes it feel like it is, but it's really not. Okay? Here are the keys to building a powerful and effective coaching business where you have all you want, you create the money you want, and you create the transformation people need, and you do it in a way that lets you control your time, control your schedule, live life that you want, and live what I call the ultimate life: purpose, prosperity, and joy. Have you systematized anything at all? Can people get first and second level, literally first and second level coaching from your assets as opposed to your access? I want you to think about that, because as soon as they can, you're building in a layer of income and a layer of growth for them that is built on assets, not access. Now, you might think, okay, let's dive into this a minute. You might think, you say, well, what are you talking about? Well, I'll give you some examples. I have 24 books. AI can search all my books and can say all the things that I say. But with the books, I also do something different. I don't just sell books on Amazon. Amazon's the lowest tier, the least important place to do that, because you don't get to create a relationship. I sell books on my own. I have them on Amazon, of course, but I sell books on my own on websites, not because I want to make more money, even though you do, because Amazon takes so much, but because it allows me to create a relationship. It allows me to create a space where I have extra things, videos, audios, connections, surveys, things that people can use that are assets beyond the book and that precede the personal access. And so they can get first and second level coaching. And you know what that is. First level, basic, and second level is more advanced, better questions after some progress has been made. That allows that to happen because I've systematized some of this. All right. The second thing is, have you extracted your IP, intellectual property? The internet is full of good stuff and lots of garbage. You and I both know that. Somebody did a survey and asked what percentage of internet could we believe. Somebody said 50-50, and somebody said 80-20, not 80, not 20, yes. It's getting worse because of bots and people trying to influence others and malicious actors and stuff. But when the bots go out and look, that's where they look, and they may, you can train it to look at more trusted websites, especially when you're talking about specific topics and not opinion matters or pop culture. And so the level of trust can go up, but it's still, it produces an average. It collects a whole bunch of thoughts and gives you, either a range of things or an average. That isn't tailored to you. It isn't in recognition of your specific issue and need. And it certainly doesn't, optimize what it finds. If you are working with a client and you have a library of IP and it is optimized for coaching in the area that you coach, you have a treasure trove of things that clients can access that allows you to be out of the picture. Now, as long as you're doing individual private coaching, you're going to have sessions. You're going to have times when you talk to people, and that's what people are paying for. I get that. But if they have support and access to other intellectual property that is uniquely yours with your voice, your spin, your teaching, you can support a larger base of clients, and you can support them with less individual touching. I know that because I've done it. I'm in the process of doing it again right now at another layer. So I run book challenges. I just finished one. I've been running book challenges since 2013, so 13 years. In the last few years, I've changed them and made them deeper, longer, more comprehensive. What I'm doing right now is creating an intellectual property vault, about how to write, not just how to write a book, but how to mine your life for the gold in your own transformation, how to organize your experiences into a story arc, and how to extract your own IP so you have something from which you can create books, other books, products, right? Seminars, keynote speeches, all of those things easily again and again. And so using now my over a decade of teaching people about how to mine their lives for stories and how to turn that into a book and residual income assets, I'm turning that whole process into a residual income asset. And that isn't going to substitute ever for straight up, hardcore, call you to the carpet, no excuses coaching that helps you get to the podium you want. But it is going to be first, second, and even third level coaching for questions, encouragement, questions that people have all the time over and over again. In other words, repeated issues, especially around being seen and worthiness and all the stuff that you know as a coach. I have now 13 years worth of history and experience that I'm able to turn into an intellectual property vault that creates not only sustainability for clients if I'm not available, but also leverage. Have you structured your insight? One of the interesting things I ask coaches all the time is, okay, cool. How do you coach? And because I do a podcast, and you know this, here we are, we're on episode 1100 and whatever. One of the things I ask people often, whatever they do, whether they're coaches or not, maybe they're teaching nutrition, maybe they're teaching, I interviewed a guy the other day, great episode about functional medicine and how that's, changing things in terms of a comprehensive sort of thing. And I ask, well, if someone comes to you and wants some help with whatever, how do you start? What do you do? And he had a structured process, but many that I talk to do not. And they hide behind, it's all custom. It's all individual. Everybody's different. That's true, and it's also garbage. Because if you've been coaching for more than 15 minutes, you know that imposter syndrome, I'm not good enough, self-sabotage, fear, forgiveness, love, self-love, and a half a dozen other things are core and common problems. I put a video up a few years ago, a very short video I just made in the backyard. I called it a Wisdom from the Porch series. And I didn't even do very many in that series. It was just something I did for fun in the summertime. That video, it was on forgiveness. Hundreds of thousands of views. Hasn't reached millions yet. But hundreds of thousands of views. And the comments over and over and over again are across a wide spectrum of things. But the core teaching was, you need to learn to forgive yourself for mistakes you have made. There is a path and a process to do that, and it creates freedom. I ended up then writing the book, Forgiveness, a journey of courage to a place of freedom and power. Common thread, structured IP, broad application. Hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, many books sold, all dealing with the single issue of how do you forgive yourself when you've hurt someone you love? That was the title of the video. How do you forgive yourself when you've hurt someone you love? And usually that means you've done something you knew you shouldn't have, and you did it anyway. You hate yourself and you're angry, and you can live in that pain forever, or you can forgive yourself. And there's a process. I don't mean just ignore whatever. You don't just pretend it away, because then it never goes away. It burns holes in you forever. So this is what I'm talking about. So if you haven't systematized anything, if you haven't extracted your IP or built some leverage or organized and structured your insights, you're leaving a ton of influence, a ton of service, and a ton of money on the table. You're not helping a whole bunch of people you could help. And in that process, you're leaving a bunch of money on the table that you could put in your bank account. And it isn't just about, okay, I got more money. It's about increasing your leverage, because leverage is often tied to money. Building a structure, building these kinds of things that I've talked about. You can use internet terms and talk about libraries and membership sites and masterminds and things. You can build those, but you have to be able to fill them with your experience, the thing you're coaching and teaching from anyway. That stuff AI cannot duplicate. It can go out and get an average of a boatload of people on a particular topic and give some very good ideas. But your own personal power that comes from the truth of your own testimony about how things worked for you cannot be duplicated in any universe by AI. That was evident in this huge curriculum that I just created for myself on a particular topic. It was good, and it's very good for learning, but it did not carry the individual experience and land with the power that something does when someone says, I used that, it changed my life, here's what happened, and this and this and this. And I see it and I feel it and I experience that energy of transformation from them. Hey, I can't do that. Not in any iteration. And I'm not saying never, because I never say never, but certainly nothing in the even foreseeable future in terms of its growth. It does not feel and does not transmit the truth. Truth has power. When you're in a room with someone and they're speaking false, you know it. Your body, shrivels up and it feels yucko. Well, there's a transmission, an energetic transmission around truth and falsehood. Jokingly call it a BS meter. It's alive and well. So all of those things are possible for you. And here's your invitation. I have 3 invitations for you. If you want help doing any of that, systematizing your coaching and acquisition process, extracting your intellectual property, organizing it into some leverageable assets, structuring your insight and capability so you can get first and second level coaching or give it to people, get paid for it, and not require your personal attention. If you haven't done any of that, you need to. And I can help you because I have done it, and it works, and it's powerful, and it creates freedom for Kellan and impact for those that want to be helped, and cash to increase leverage. Now, yourultimatelifepodcast.com, yourultimatelifepodcast.com. Go there. Use the contact form. Get a hold of me. Let me help you structure your IP, create leverage, extract the genius that you have in a way that lets you make more money, impact more people, and have more freedom. Okay. Now, there are a couple of pitfalls. Some coaches, they know they're not building companies, but they're addicted to being needed. And they consider the fact that there's high demand for them to be their real value. And it's not, because the number of people you can impact is limited. And so you are building a business instead that requires you to rescue or react or respond all day. You don't want to do that. Your clients need you, or are they learning to become powerful? My goal is to get clients on their way, to give them both the tools, encouragement, insight, love, support that they need, and then have them move forward. And if they want to stay for a year or two or even 12, because they're receiving more and more of that, it is because constant leveling up is taking place, not because there is any neediness created. Have you built a model that multiplies or one that consumes you? I want you to hear that. Have you built a model that multiplies you or consumes you? This contact form, yourultimatelifepodcast.com, reach out to me and let me help you do that. Let's build you a model that multiplies you instead of eating you alive. Are you creating freedom, or are you just, selling your life in 60-minute increments or 30 or 90 or whatever your sessions are? Let's build you some freedom. A stronger model looks like real intellectual property that you have organized and have made available. It looks like structured frameworks that are yours based on your truth and experience, repeatable processes that you have looked at, identified, refined, and honed over years, months or years of working with all kinds of things. You have clear transformational pathways. You take people down a road that works, not just a framework of questions, because AI will blow you away, but a repeatable framework that's based on your own hard-won, battle-tested experience in which you can transmit the truth of your energy and growth, not just cute words. Have you written the book of you yet? If you have not written the book of your own becoming, you're leaving influence and money on the table. You're free to do that. But I'd like to invite you to consider it. Okay? I run a book challenge of different kinds. There's a foundation, book to bank foundation, about turning your IP into cash. All of those you can ask me about. Use the contact form. How are you building, and have you built assets that extend your voice without requiring your body? If you haven't, why not? Freedom, cash, and impact in the world are at the end of that road. We're not trying to remove humanity. AI almost threatens it, but I'd like you to increase your reach. I'd like you to be able to be more healthy. Take care of yourself fully, be more energized and focused, and that only comes with balance. That only comes with an ability to extend your reach powerfully. The goal isn't obviously to remove yourself, because you are the essence of your lived experience. But our goal is to stop making us the only mechanism. First, second, and even third level coaching can be provided by an organized system of what you already have known and done. And at the top of the heap, you can always have space and room for bespoke experience and highly motivated and powerful clients. One to many is one of the many models to do that. but there's lots of other things to do with the stuff you already have and know. I want to encourage you. AI is changing the world, the coaching world, fast and furious. It's going to put 95% of coaches out of business this year. Is that going to be you? Are you building a business or just busyness? Because a real business multiplies you. A fragile business drains you and leaves you exhausted emotionally, physically. The future belongs to coaches who build assets, not just appointments. Let me help you do that, because that has become my specialty. Now, why this matters in the age of AI is because AI has compressed the value of any information. Google made it all available. AI has multiplied that by 1,000 and made expertise, analysis, and so forth available also. AI provides thinking support and provides surface level accountability and basic personalization. I've experienced that, and so have you. That means your margins get pressured, your rates get questioned, because people don't know the difference and haven't experienced the difference of the deep truth of personal connection. And that goes to another episode that we're going to do, but it isn't today. I think we did it a little bit ago, and I'll probably talk about it some more. And that is, if you're not the embodiment of what you teach, you're history. Your history already, and everything I've talked about today won't even matter. So the embodiment being the outcome or the product of the product is a first essential. But if you build a body of work, if you are the embodiment of what you teach and you build a body of work, a clear philosophy, you speak it, you live it, and an unmistakable framework that cannot be duplicated, and a method that is rooted in your own lived truth, you become invincible. AI becomes a helper, an expander, an accelerator, a support tool, an extension, and not a threat. AI punishes, rips the heart out of vagueness. Okay? Clarity can be one of your most powerful assets. Let me ask a couple of questions here as we close. What have you built that still serves when you're not in the room? Question for you to answer. What have you extracted from your own life that can teach without your live presence? Me, the best way that I know to do that is to build books and programs that come out of your own life, that come out of your own lived experience. If someone paid you for wisdom, what exactly do they get besides time? And that other thing is what will multiply you. So let's talk about some ways to do that. Build a book. Build a library of work, assets that you can leverage. Build a unique framework based on your personal experience. Build a method. Build something that pays you back and lets you expand. That's how you can build a business that's anti-fragile, that lets you have both the income, impact, and freedom that you want, and do it in a way that complements and works with AI instead of gets buried by it. My heart is with you. I love you. If I can help you, please let me, because I'm doing this in real time right now, and I can show you how. YourUltimateLifePodcast.com, contact form. Let me help you, because you deserve to build and live your ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. Your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellanFluckigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe, share.
Stand with your heart in the sky.